Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Total War Arena. So today we are going to be taking a look at the Tier 8 premium unit, the Hamilcar Veterans. So I got this premium unit given to me by Wargaming from, I entered a video contest for the 3.1, when the 3.1 patch came out, and after a rather long delay we have finally got the unit, which is really cool, really good of them, and kind of cool because I get to review it, and I've kind of been enjoying playing them. We're shortly going to flick over to one of the stat slides and we can sort of see how they compare to both the equivalent Roman premium unit, the Tier 8 Spanish Legion, and also against sort of the Intri Tetri units for heavy infantry, which is what these guys are. Obviously, I'm running them with Hannibal, which is kind of the natural thing to do. You know, got to consider as well, I'm only just at the Tier 8 with Hannibal, so I've not got all his stats and things fully sorted properly yet, so you've got to bear that in mind when I'm running things like Ad Portus, that I haven't got all the upgrades running at the moment, because I'm still only Tier 6 in the actual infantry tech tree, so I've kind of skipped ahead a little bit. They are sort of a bit of a strange unit. They have a reasonable amount of base movement speed with Hannibal's Force March when you get that activated, but they're kind of immobile. They're sort of a bit sluggish, a bit slow to get going, pretty slow turn speed. So you can tell they are a heavy infantry unit, but at the same time they have a reasonable amount of forward momentum. So, yeah, they're kind of nice in a way. I kind of like that part of them. Not to mention the fact they also get javelins with 3 uses as well, which is kind of practical. They do get things like forward combat, because same as the Roman infantry, and obviously they get a vicious strikes as just a standard strike. One of the better strikes to get, I think, the extra 10% melee weapon damage, obviously always useful. And obviously they run just normally with Ad Portus and Determination, as just a Hannibal sort of really does. I think their biggest limitation I've found so far, I've played quite a reasonable amount of games with these guys now, is their Tier 8 is pretty tough. You quite regularly are getting thrown in against Tier 10s, and it doesn't really matter how good the unit is at Tier 8, if you're facing off a Tier 10, you're going to get decimated pretty brutally. And that's kind of their biggest problem. Compared to, say, Tier 7 premium units, which will only see Tier 8s, the wide open nature of how this works on the matchmaking kind of makes these hard to play well consistently. Fighting other Tier 8s, I think they perform pretty admirably, but if you're fighting up against higher tiers, then things get pretty tough. But anyway, let's hop over to the stat sites and have a little bit of a dig down into how these guys work, and then we'll hop into a battle with them and see how we get on. So, we have just flicked over to the stat side of things. I've sort of got access to, people have pointed me in the direction of a couple of different stat sites now. Some have some of the premium units on, some don't. Some are more accurate than others. So sort of having to flip between them. But hopefully I'm going to try and introduce these into a few more of my videos to make them perhaps a little bit more professional, or at least it stops me having to type them out into Excel. So that it makes my life easier. But anyway, so we're looking at the Hamilcar Veterans, obviously. So they really only have one competitor in terms of heavy infantry at Tier 8, which is obviously the Romans. I think that's like the 9th Legion. The Spaniards is obviously the Spanish 9th Legion. And all in all, I would say they are pretty much the same type of unit, and they're differentiated from commanders for themselves. I mean, if we look at the stats, melee attack basically the same. Penetration damage is a bit higher on Hamilcar's Veterans, but then they lose out on a similar amount of points on the weapon damage. And, really the weapon damage on both these units is sufficiently high that it's always going to be exceeding body armor, so this amount of damage will apply. So effectively, it equates to the same thing, the penetration damage and the weapon damage. Impact damage, not really relevant. Obviously, if you're using Germanicus, you're going to get a bit of a charge with these guys, a heavy infantry charge. That's kind of useful. Again, pretty much the same. Things like this, missile block chance, a little bit better on these guys with Hamilcar's Veterans, but you're more than likely going to be using the Romans with Germanicus, in which case you're going to have Testudo. So, what's the point even worrying about it? Everything else, I mean, that's kind of my theme of this, is that they are basically the same. Morale, basically the same. Shield armor is the same. Body armor is a little bit lower on the Hamilcar's Veterans, but obviously you're a little bit quicker, you've got a slightly higher base movement speed, and with Force March and Hannibal, makes these guys actually have a reasonable amount of speed. I mean, these guys are chronically slow, really, along with the obviously armored legionaries. That's the Tier 6 one, the Eagle cohort, which is the equivalent heavy Roman tech tree unit. you know, is also chronically slow. If you compare the both of these tier 8 premiums, though, they are a little bit worse than the, you know, equivalent in-tree tech tree unit. You can see obviously this is based on what stats have been picked out on what's available, but you can kind of see that, you know, things like the melee attack's a bit higher, the actual weapon damage is a little bit higher again, and I think it's got pretty higher body armor as well. Yeah, 192. I mean, while they are just 3.3, with no speed buffs on your commander and no dash, is just painfully slow. But that's kind of my point. The premium units are good. Both premium units are basically exactly the same. It comes down to commander differences, you know, Predator Javelin, Peelers, that sort of thing, depending on how you want to play. The units themselves are actually the same. But both units are a little bit worse than sort of their equivalent tech tree unit, which is good. I think that's how it should be. That's how I think I envisage premium units being done. They shouldn't really be too much pay to win. They should be similar or slightly worse than the sort of equivalent tech tree units, and that's kind of how they are. So let's hop back into the game, and then we'll think about having a battle with these guys. So we are loading into the Battle of Salernum. Looks like we've not done too badly on the matchmaking. The tier 8s and tier 9s on our team. Doesn't look like we've got any tier 10s on our team, so we can perhaps maintain a little bit of hope that the enemy hasn't got any either. But let's see how these guys perform. Let's wait for everyone else to load in. So much cavalry, 1, 2, 3 cavalry. Bit of ranged into form of some javelins here, but no archers on our team. A little bit of artillery. Quite a balanced matchmaking then, really, to be honest.
Take the enemy base.
So first things first, let's get our force march activated and get moving up. We've got some chosen swordsmen, some barbarian. They are barbarians, yes. With Vercingetorix moving up into the forest. What have we got around me? A bit of stuff going into town. Okay. Well, we'll stick with these guys for now. I do miss that. I do feel that these guys are quite immobile. Even with force march, it's not so much they have a bad top speed. You know, it's fine. I just find that they just feel really sluggish. I don't know if it's because maybe I'm getting used to playing quicker infantry units, which kind of makes these guys just feel slow, or if it is a case that they genuinely are just slow. Let's deactivate our force march. There's not really a lot I can do about these guys, to be honest, easily. I can try and get a unit to flank round. And push in on the flanks. It seems like we're up against tier 10s already. You see, that's kind of the problem I was describing. I'm going to go in for a rather rash add Portus, but you know, it's got such a short cooldown, I think it's probably worth the risk. Go for a strike and try and get some damage on these guys. Yeah, the problem is, you know, again, you're sitting off against such high tier units. You know, these are the they're the Numidian Carthaginian cavalry. Okay, well that's cool. Nothing else. But we're now going to find all these. You see all these guys here. Ooh, and we're going to get rear flanked badly. Let's see what we can do about this as a situation. Let's try and push around on the flank here. I'm going to go like that, straight in with that. These guys need to pull back. Are they friendly cavalry? They are. We're getting a bit of damage on some of their units as they run, and they've now been flanked by the Dacians as well. We lost a unit here. Are they friendly units? They are. Let's try and keep some pressure on these guys here. You know, these enemy tier 9 hoplites that we've got caught up against. We sort of got stuck into quite more of a melee than I had really intended. Some of these guys are retreating, so we should be able to get a bit of damage on them, hopefully. We've still got our Portus activated on one of our units, so maybe we should be able to keep a good bit of damage up. Come on, we should be able to finish that guy off if he routes. Good. Okay, so we've got one unit to go. Okay, we're getting a bit of damage up. We're doing okay now. I'm not displeased with this. Let's keep our strikes going. We've got the friendly javelins getting some shots in the back, so that's going well. And they are routed and destroyed. Okay, where does that leave us? So, really we want to be staying with these javelins. But do they look like they're retreating? Possibly. Got these Romans in front of us. If our javelins want to go for them, then I would probably oblige, to be honest. But they're going to have a testudo, which they're in, of course. So they're pulling back. Okay, so we'll probably do the same. Don't want to get stuck into a fight that I don't have to. Because again, that's the problem with, you know, this tier, particularly when you get called against tier 9, tier 10 opponents, they whip through you pretty easily. Just kind of what I was talking about at Tier Force March. Kind of talking about struggling a little bit at tier 8 with these guys. So just what I'm finding continuously. Is there anything worthwhile pulling back to? Maybe. Our artillery is being threatened by some Romans and a handful of these Falksmen. So let's pull back. I think would be the right thing to do. I don't think these guys are going to want to be engaging these Romans. And defending our base is obviously a worthwhile thing to do because that's obviously the main cause of loss really in this game. So let's get up this hill and start to look at maybe engaging some of these guys. We've got a few friendly units coming out, and these javelins, these tier 9s at javelins is a pretty brutal tier. So they're good to have on our team. They could really win us this game if they're going to get these guys without a testudo. We'll go and shoot them in the back. Shoot, 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 shoot. Or at least go for the Falksman. No, they can't. Oh, watch out for those Numidians. Let's move up, try and offer a bit of support. Now, we could look at engaging these guys here. Let's turn that off. Just try and spread our units back out. And let's go for them. Obviously, they're going to beat us in the charge, which is fine. I'm hoping now that these... we could pull back a little bit. I'm going to actually go for it in an ad portus. Normally, it would be worth disengaging on a fight like this, I think, because, you know, they've just activated, of course, their vengeance. You know, we could probably outrun them, to be honest. Oh, but these guys have routed, which is what we were kind of hoping for. Because, you know, they got rear flanked by our allied Falksmen. Now we can apply our damage. Let's get our damage in as quickly as we can before these enemy reinforcements get here. Let's keep our damage up. Okay, they're getting back into the fight. We've still got our javelins here, though, so we're not completely out of this yet. Still got more friendly units. Let's go back with our strike. I know these guys have still got a vengeance activated, so we've still got a bit of a tough fight there. We've not been doing too badly, really, with them being tier 8s. You know, we're not doing too badly on sort of the tier matchmaking. So these enemy Praetorian cavalry have come around the back to try and get a bit of damage in. Let's try and rout those guys. Okay. Let's try and keep the pressure up on these guys now. Start to finish some of these units off if we can. We've got a determination back, so let's go for that. I'll happily activate one of them. Looks like our ad portus has finished on most of our units, but we should be able to use our determination to keep some of these guys propped up in fighting. And we're not actually taking that many casualties, but our base is being capped by these elements, which has got a small house on it. So let's think about sending back a unit. Pull him out of the fight. Go straight on for force march. We have got javelins, so, you know, which is obviously where these guys excel. Keep the pressure on. That's that final cleaver. Come on, if you can finish him off, that would be good. We should have friendly javelins still left alive, which we do. You know, we might actually have this game yet in the bag. If I have my way. We're having a bit of a tough time against these cleavers. They're in defiance. That's not going to make my life easier. That's going to end, though. Come on, kill him. There we go. Good, good, good. So let's pull back with this guy. Let's get round this corner, see if we can get some shots in on these elephants. Like that. So we don't really want to be fighting these guys if we can help it, not when we have friendly javelins here to support us. Which are obviously going to be keeping us alive. Pull these guys back down. It's still a pretty close battle, it's still all to play for here. I'm not going to throw any more javelins yet, because I should be able to be killed pretty easily by our allied javelin units, which they are doing, you know, pretty brutally cutting into them. Obviously, while these guys have got so much armour, they're 144, they're still, the javelins just do penetration damage, so they do quite a lot of damage to them like that. One more to go, and then our base at least is secure. And we can start to think about regrouping our units. Let's get force march activated on everyone again, and think about what we're going to do. So, we've still got those enemy cavalry lurking around base, so they could be a threat to our base. So, is it going to be worth trying to leave a unit here? Oh, you're not going to rout, are you? Let's turn force march off on you. Let's perhaps leave you guys here. And let's move you two up. They're not going to be able to do a lot, but if we stand them against a wall at least, if they're faced the right way at least, they're not that easy to be caught out by the enemy cavalry. So, we've got our other two guys moving up, force march on. We've got our Praetorians threatening these enemy Numidians here. The Numidian Vanguard. I'm looking forward to unlocking these guys on the Carthaginian cavalry line. So yeah, so all in all, hopefully we've seen so far that they're not too bad, these guys. If you can get them to combat and get them stuck in that sort of head-to-head, you know, aggressive type combat, that they seem to do okay against equivalent tier units. Where they struggle though is the fact that, you know, being tier 8, they often get thrown into some pretty brutal games. Am I going to reach you? Go on. No. Okay. Not going to happen. And by getting thrown into those brutal games, it sort of means that you know, you're often facing off against tier 9 and even tier 10 units. Oh, look at that! Oh, brutal charge and his rat. Nice job. That was exceedingly well played. By getting stuck into those games, you know, if you're facing off against tier 9 Romans, tier 10 Romans, then, you know, you'll get cut down pretty quickly and you'll have a bit of a hard time, even with Ad Portus on your side. You know, they just don't really compete. So that's kind of where the problem with them for me lies. You know, whereas a tier 7 premium unit's never going to see anything above tier 8. And a tier 7 can fight a tier 8, but a tier 8 can't really very easily fight a tier 10. And it's not really circumvented like, for example, I also have the tier 8 Pontic archers, the tier 8 Greek archers. And, you know, they're fine at tier 10 because they can still compete. They still do damage to enemy units, you know. They're still an effective unit, they can still apply their damage quite well. These guys struggle a lot more. You can play the javelin game. We're going to get caught by falconsmen if they're not careful. So let's keep pushing up here and apply the pressure. Oh, nice charge. Oh, they just about survived, but okay, let's just wait at the bottom of this ridge. Let's turn our forced march off. We'll go for one. Let's go for it. Oh, definitely if we're going to lock them on fire, then we certainly will. We're going straight into Determination Ad Portus. Have they gone for vengeance? They have. Maybe we should have baited their vengeance and let them fight it out. But you know, Ad Portus doesn't do so badly against these guys. Let's go for our strikes, right? And friendly javelins, that will really finish them off, hopefully. As long as we don't get too badly rear-flanked by these Romans. But you know, with the javelins kicking around, they're doomed. We're actually cutting these guys down pretty brutally, to be honest. Kind of goes to show how they compare tier for tier against the equivalent tier 8 Romans. These guys might not be fully upgraded, of course, you've got to consider. But still, yeah, pretty good unit. But as I say, the problem is not so much the unit. You know, if you look at if we looked at obviously the statistics we did earlier, they're pretty comparable. Let's turn around and face these guys. Pretty comparable to everything else at tier 8, but is where they're not comparable is the matchmaking. That's kind of where, as a premium unit, I find they're kind of lacking. If you want a unit to play at tier 8, they're absolutely fine for that. But if you want a unit to make money, to make free experience, to be able to have consistently good games, personally, with the current setup, I think you'd probably be better off with a tier 7. Yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about it. For me, you know, that game was a nice game. I really enjoyed that game, but I have many games where you just get flattened. Oh, there we go, tier 8 with Hannibal now. Get flattened by enemy units just so early on. It gives you an idea of how much free experience I'm making though, guys. That was my first battle of the day though, so obviously that's a double, but 2,000 free experience and a decent amount of silver profit. Obviously, there's no, you don't have to pay to replenish them, so I just got my consumable cost, which is about 10,000, so about 30,000 profit. So hopefully you have enjoyed this video. It's given you a bit of an idea of what these guys are all about, and it perhaps gives you a bit of an idea about sort of what premiums in tier 8 in general are like, and kind of some of the problems that are associated with that. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, please let me know what you think in the comments down below. And subscribe to the channel for lots more Total War Arena content. Thanks guys, and I shall see you all on the next video.